was confident that the young girls from Auckland would stop and inquire after his well-being, and together they would devise a safe way to extricate him from his chivalry. Alas, the young girls from Auckland were indeed from Auckland, and had continued on their way without giving Sababa's fate so much as a second thought. Which brought him, with his lightning-fast analytical ability, to his fourth conclusion in a matter of milliseconds. 30 feet below the sheer drop-off, he was immobilized in a massive metal machine, surrounded by more sheer drop-off. Carefully, he opened his driver's side door, feeling the whaler shudder under him. The wagon, exactly balanced on the pillar between the passenger side front and rear doors, was not in a forgiving mood for any more mistakes. Sababa gently pushed his door straight up, waited for it to catch, and slithered onto the slope, reaching for any branches or shrubs that might provide him a handhold to survival. He struggled up the bank, digging his soles into whatever they could find, tested, and then climbed again. 20 minutes after his tumble, Dr. Sababa emerged scratched and shaken but safe onto the gravel roadbed that had tried to kill him. The silence was unnerving. He began to stumble back towards the Whitianga turnoff, but had not walked far before he caught a lift with a farmer heading into town. "What happened to you, Mike?" the farmer asked. Sababa told him the short version, emphasizing his shock and surprise at the actions of the young girls from Auckland. "Hey, we call them Jaffas," he said. "Jaffas?" asked Sababa. "Just another fucking Aucklander," said the farmer. "You'll likely meet a few more before you die." A period of silent contemplation followed. "There's supposed to be 309 curves in this road," Sababa said. "And?" asked the driver. "I likely didn't make 50 of them." The farmer dropped Dr. Sababa at a garage on the edge of the township. A thin, older man in blue overalls came out from under a car. He hadn't said a word before Sababa launched into a cathartic explanation of his travails, the accident, the predicament of the bronze whaler and its relationship with the rest of the family, the Jaffas, and other topics, some totally irrelevant. "It's down the 309 road," he said, finally, as an admission of defeat. The mechanic motioned him to get into a dilapidated tow truck the same color as his overalls. He didn't speak as they drove back down into the belly of the beast. Less than 50 curves later, Sababa pointed to the edge of the road he had taken the whaler over. The mechanic motioned him out of the truck, exited his own door, and went around to the business end of the vehicle. He took 2 large iron bars and drove them into the roadbed, a fixed distance apart with a sledgehammer half his size. He swung himself onto the large hook and rode the winch cable over the bank. The speed at which his blue overalls disappeared over the sheer drop-off into space pulled a gasp from Sababa. The man moved like he was executing a pivot in a rugby scrum, and for as much as Sababa knew about both the man and the game, he may as well have. Minutes later, his blue overalls rematerialized back from over the edge and onto the truck bed. The mechanic commenced pulling levers and pushing switches until the cable tightened, and a mighty grumbling began beneath them, 30 feet below. Sababa trembled with the terror of the exercise and what disastrous results he might bear witness to if this taciturn grease monkey was not up to the challenge. But his torment was unnecessary. Slowly, leisurely, the bronze whaler made a steady 90-degree turn, her bonnet now facing up toward the roadbed. A tug on another lever, and she began a stealthy crawl up towards the bank, swerving like the copper shark she was. Another heave, and the Holden climbed onto the 309, facing back towards the direction she had come. Her roof was crushed to the waistline, her windshield and her windows blown out, but she, and every can from the supermarket, was otherwise all there. The mechanic blew on 2 fingers and put the key in the whaler. The engine roared into life. Sababa's mouth was open in awe. "Think you can drive her into town, Mike?" It was the first thing the man had said. He nodded. "How much do I owe you?" asked the good doctor. $40, he said. Sababa paid him before anything more could happen and watched the mechanic drive away. Clearly, there were all kinds of Kiwis, and this man was a seraphim angel of the highest order. Dr. Sababa found his drive back to Whitianga embarrassing. He felt every vehicle he passed snickering at the whaler, especially because his visibility was windy and less than 5 inches high. He pulled into Uncle Bill's driveway, half relieved and half paralyzed, to find the old man still sitting on the deck where he had left him, not 3 hours earlier. Quick trip up the peninsula, observed Uncle Bill. Less up than over, Sababa said. How'd you like the 309? Asked Bill. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, he said. Looks like you found a little of both today, said Uncle Bill. Bill, Sababa asked, you know anything about Jaffas? Oh, they live in the Bombay Hills, he said, and in the clouds above us. Has nothing to do with the book, but anyway, that's in there. So, I haven't answered this question. There were two things in this one. I didn't start with the plot, I started out backwards. Okay? And there's a second thing here, that some literary works are journey towards paradise, but I started in paradise and worked backwards, and the only direction from delight was disorder. New Zealand now has the same kind of environmental pressure we have. You know, the developers come in, tear down all the trees and name the streets after them. So we're starting to see a little bit of that as well. Now, this is my gold mine. And every year I take people there, say, there's my gold mine. And my cousin bro, who's also in the book, went in the first time I took him and came out with an eel and a totra rail from the railway that was inside it. And if he'd have been a Mexican, they would have put him on the flag, right? But the legend I was looking for, the rumor I had heard about, I found this year. So there's a cave. I found this in February. That's a pre-contact Maori boy, about 13 years old. Obviously died of traumatic head injury, either by a left-handed guy from, probably a Napui from the front, or a Ngāti Hei, or a right-handed guy from the back. His dentition is classic pre-contact. No osteomyelitis, no cavity, or, no fillings. So he's there. No naval button, no greenstone club, but I haven't looked all the way in the back yet. So that's just how bizarre it is when life imitates art. Because I had finished the book when I found this. I guess, so I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, because you may have some or you may have none.
I'd like to have seen a picture of the Holden after trip.
I didn't take one of those, John. But I ended up having to pay my cousin bro quite a bit of money for the car. That was his work vehicle, actually.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. No, I wasn't going to argue with him. I had no insurance. So, yeah. Okay, I will tell you about a couple of things. While I was down at the Bolt Hole last year, I wrote another book. This is not the cover of it. This is just a mock-up. But The Bandits of Madagascar should come out, I'm hoping, in maybe July, August. I'm just having it sort of edited now and covers designed. And that's a humdinger. I'm back to narrative nonfiction. I can't handle this fiction stuff. Except the one after that, the one I'm writing now, is also fiction. Or not. Because not only did Dr. Sababa die at the Bolt Hole, Dr. Sababa was born in the Bolt Hole. So the next book is called The Case Book of Dr. Sababa, and is a compendium of all of the interesting cases that Dr. Sababa has had over the years. So if any of you in this room would like to be part of that, you may have no choice. Okay, so how do you get the book? Well, you can get it, the ebook on Amazon and Kobo, and I screwed up Lulu, so you can't get it yet on iBooks and Nook. You can get the print book on Amazon, CreateSpace. There's some New Zealand sources for it. As soon as my microphone arrives, I'll do an audio book. Or you can get it here, because I've got a few copies. Not a lot, but I'll sign them for you. Cost is $25 each, cash. I have my other books here if you want, and I'll cut you a deal on those, because I'm in a good mood. So one for 25, two for 45, three for 65, four for 35, five for 100, and if you want more than 5, come and talk to me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the presentation. Thank you, Mark.
Come on, bud.